us started, if that's all right with you. Thank you so much for being with us today. I am so excited to have you in this room with us to have this conversation with Sara Mitchell. This is part of our sales and marketing series that we're featuring through this summer and kind of the early part of the fall, which will lead us right into the Grounded and Growing conference in October, which we're so excited about. We have already had one of these. This is our second sales and marketing. We have two more after this that you're not going to want to miss. The next one, we're having a conversation with Nathan Jones talking about utilizing social media in your marketing plans. And then our last conversation is a panel perspective from some folks that are pretty heavy hitters in the marketing world from a provider's perspective. So we're really excited about what's coming, but today is going to be fantastic. And I'm so glad that you're here. Sara, I would consider as a friend of mine in the industry, and she's a kind person and a wise person to know. I'd love to give you a real introduction to her, though. Sara Mitchell is the president of Solinity Marketing, and she has an impressive background in sales and marketing. She also has a background in broadcast journalism, production, and PR. At Solinity Marketing, your little poll came in front of my notes. Sorry, Ann. Solinity Marketing, Sara and her team generate unique and creative stories. She oversees communication platforms to maximize efficiency in projects. The Solinity Marketing team also produces the weekly Bridge the Gap Senior Living podcast, so be sure to check that out after this call. If you know me at all, you know that I talk about that podcast in any of our CALA courses. In today's call, Sara is going to talk about broken processes in the sales and marketing system, and she'll be able to share with you good solutions for your sales funnel strategy. So Sara, it's off to you.
Oh, thank you, Katie. And thank you, Emily. I'm so excited to be here. Yes, I totally consider you ladies friends, and just very excited about today's conversation. I see a lot of familiar names in the attendees here. So super excited to kick off this conversation specifically about sales and marketing. And because you had that phenomenal tee up about our company, our full service marketing agency telling stories, I figured I could start with the story myself. So I'll share my screen here, Emily, and let's get going. All right, so as they said, I'm Sara Mitchell. I am president of Solinity Marketing, full service PR and marketing agency. And at our root, we help tell stories. So we are dedicated to this wonderful industry of senior living and healthcare. And we have two divisions of our business: the communities, the operators, the developers that are marketing directly to the consumers and their adult sons and daughters. And then also the B2B side of the business, or that division, which is the products, the services, the vendors that are selling to you guys, the communities. And I wanted to give you just a brief overview here to capitalize on what Katie said, but these are a couple of the things that we'll be discussing today with the components of the broken process. So I want to talk specifically about the sales teams in the communities and the marketing teams. How do these teams work together? What are some challenges and opportunities for improvement on those two individuals or teams working together? And then also, I want to give you some really practical solutions and takeaways that hopefully you can screenshot or snap with your phone of some very simple things that could make a really big difference to send those back to your sales and marketing teams to make some immediate improvements and opportunities for improvement online, on social media, and some of those other tools and processes. But as Katie said, I am totally passionate about this industry of senior living. My background, real briefly, is in broadcast journalism. So right out of college, I'm a University of Tennessee graduate, and I studied sport management. I learned all about the backstories of sponsorships and scholarships and how student athletes make their way through sports, specifically on the telling the story side. So I dove right into broadcast journalism, and throughout my first kind of section of my career, if you will, I helped tell the stories from not only the University of Tennessee, but then went on to be a sideline reporter and anchor for a couple of programs and platforms and media outlets such as CBS Sports and ESPN, and then ultimately the SEC network, which was pretty cool. I will say, I know all of you guys are in Georgia, but the University of Tennessee did just win the College World Series. So I've talked a lot about sports to all of my senior living clients here lately, but very excited. It was at a point, a little bit of transition for me, that I thought there's got to be more to this career to this opportunity or this ability to tell stories through video and photo and press releases and things such as that. And it was about that time that I had a tremendous opportunity to be approached by an operator in the industry in the Southeast, and he was starting what is now a nonprofit that raises money for Alzheimer's. At the time, I didn't know much about dementia or Alzheimer's, and that specific event, that would be a 12-day cycling fundraiser to raise money for Alzheimer's. I joined as a volunteer on that team, and we helped develop press releases, videos, photos, fundraising success, and all of that ultimately ended up presenting $100,000 back to the Pat Summitt Clinic. And if you're familiar with the legendary coach Pat Summitt, she had a very public battle with Alzheimer's and early onset dementia. And she took her battle to the front lines. And so I, again, as you'll notice in a lot of my story and a lot of what we'll talk about today, it's storytelling, as Katie said. And so I was able to leave television, broadcast journalism, which was very fun. And I moved to this new industry for me that was senior living, and still capitalizing on what I was so passionate about, which was telling stories, telling that through video and photo and written pieces. I was able to do that through what is now the nonprofit called Pedal for Alzheimer's. And I was introduced to this amazing industry of senior living. So all of these building blocks that helped ultimately build what is now Solinity Marketing came from those very unique and pivotal moments during the start of my career to where we are today. And what we do today is help tell the stories of the industry. So like you, whether you're an executive director, sales and marketing team member, regional director, administrator, whatever your department or role or title is, everyone in communities touches some part of sales and marketing. And as we all know, there are plenty of opportunities for a broken funnel. And so that's a lot of what we'll talk about today. And I wanted to give you a quick story about my first experience really dealing firsthand with senior living shopping. And I'll take you back. So Solinity Marketing has been in existence for about 7 years, and we serve clients all over the United States. But it was at the point that my own grandfather, and let me paint this picture of Poppy that I'll introduce you to. Poppy is approaching 90 years old, lived on a farm in West Tennessee. He had a background in the school system. He was on the board of directors and served under the superintendent. He had a very long tenure in that. He was also a farmer. He lived on a farm and cared for hay and wheat and cotton and corn and all the things that was in West Tennessee. A few years ago, he decided that he was just such a big Lady Vols basketball fan. He wanted to pack up and move to East Tennessee. And it was at that time that I said, well, I'm based out of Knoxville, Tennessee. I'll help my mom and her sister do this senior living shopping thing. And it was then that I realized there's a lot of challenges in this experience that adult sons or daughters, or like me, a granddaughter, experiences during that shopping experience. And one of the things that I learned that now we think is pretty simple and pretty practical, but that was, I was searching for a lot of different opportunities for independent living in East Tennessee. And on all of these websites, I would find broken pages or not enough information. Maybe it wasn't transparent. I couldn't really tell what the community might be like. So I would drive by and maybe the front door of the building or the signage didn't look like what I found online. Or this happened often. The Facebook pages were terrible blurry pictures, not a great depiction of what the community was about. Maybe the residents looked disheveled or not happy doing what they were doing, or maybe the food looked bad. So there were so many examples that I thought, man, we're doing this thing called marketing in senior living day in and day out, but how can I, through this experience with Poppy, take these lessons learned and bring these back to our company of Solinity Marketing and to the industry? I'll give you one simple example that really turned what I was experiencing and feeling out during that time of shopping. And that was, I filled out a couple of forms online. And if there was an option to check, how would you like what is your preferred method to receive a word from this community? And so I would always check email or text message. And don't you know, every time I filled out a form and I checked that, I received a phone call. And I was thinking, this is not what I want. This was typically after my full workday that I was filling out these forms online, and it just wasn't a great experience. And so fast forward through that whole process, we set up about 4 or 5 tours. My mom and her sister came to town. My granddad was here. We were all excited. We visited all of these communities. And then I'll take it a step further. During the tour process, I was thinking, okay, we've got this marketing thing. I'm understanding what they are online. And then we walk in the front door, and it's very clear that the person that's meeting us has no idea about the email communications I've had with the marketing person or the salesperson. And so an example on a tour that we went on with my granddad, as I mentioned earlier, he's a very young, well, he's not young, he's almost 90, but he acts young. He's very independent. He loves walking on the treadmill, and he loves to be outside, and he's a fantastic cook, and he loves to garden, and all of these things that I had given a little bit of pre-information about my granddad. We would walk in, and the first spot on the tour might be the theater. And I was thinking, man, Poppy doesn't really enjoy sitting inside. He doesn't ever really watch movies unless it's a Western on the TV playing very loud over dinner. But that wasn't the experience that he wanted. Rather than showing us and our family the fitness room or the outside raised gardens, those things would have been really important for us. And so through all of this, and the story that I'm painting is that there were so many touch points along the way that I, as the adult shopper, was giving information, little tidbits about who we were shopping for, and it wasn't translated. So one of the challenges is, and if you'll look on your screen here, there's so many tools. Oftentimes there's not enough staff, or the process is broken on what information comes from the lead that gets to the sales team or the administrator, executive director that's giving that tour, or making that phone call, or responding to that email. Let's say a lead calls or drops in. Maybe they fill out the form on the website as I did, and they request information from social media or online. So what are those challenges that we see day in and day out, similar to my experience, and how do we take those opportunities and translate that into something that will be a memorable experience? So the opportunity with knowing a little bit of information about the lead that's coming in, or maybe it's some of those pre-conversations, maybe it's emails, which was my experience, maybe it's a text message. So if you have that note on your form on your website to check, yes, I want to be called or emailed or text message, first piece of advice is respond in that way. Because my experience was I didn't want a phone call. I was filling out these forms online way past my work days. And so that was pretty much the last thing that I wanted was an inbound call. So the opportunity there is to hear what your lead is saying and respond in that way that they can best respond and give you that information to ultimately build trust. We'll talk about the funnel here, the awareness piece, the interest to the decision to the action. So no matter where on this funnel a lead comes in, we've got to get them to the bottom of that funnel through the marketing process, the sales process, the experience of the phone calls and the tours and the emails and all of these interaction points to ultimately get that lead to a decision to where they're moving in to your community. And so we'll talk about a few of those items today. Trust is the biggest thing. We're in this business of relationships. The decision, the transaction, if you will, is talking about someone's lifestyle. It's talking about where they're moving. Perhaps it's their uprooting, as Poppy did in my story, from West Tennessee, moving 300 miles to East Tennessee to reestablish at almost 90 years old. Now, that might be an extreme case for a lot of communities, but no matter the story and no matter the reason, whether it's a health event or if it's a young independent resident like my granddad, that choice to uproot and move to your community is a big deal. And so how do we build trust through this whole process, starting with marketing, through sales, through that decision, and then that action? How do we bring all of those pieces together to make it a seamless process that the person that you ultimately will be caring for feels really good about their decision? Let's go back to the story of my granddad. there was one community in particular that we walked in, and we just knew that the whole ambiance, the experience, the atmosphere was vastly different than the rest of the other tours. There was a welcome sign in the lobby that had my granddad's name on it. It was a special note. The person that greeted us at the front door was prepared. She knew that we were coming. She knew because she had asked who would be with Poppy on this tour. And so there was a small little chocolate that was there for my mom by name, my aunt by name, and myself. And so that first appearance, that first handshake, was tremendously more successful than the others just because of that immediate trust that was being built. And so from that tour and that example, we went on this tour. But before we went on the rounds of the community, we sat in a small little greeting room, and the sales director asked some really good questions. It was things like, Poppy, what did you do back home? What is your lifestyle like? What do you enjoy doing today? What do you want to do? Would you be interested in XYZ amenities or XYZ services that we have? Or, hey, did you know that we have transportation that takes residents to the Smokies baseball game? Oh, you like the Lady Vols? Did you know that we take buses on Sunday afternoons to those games? It was those questions that we saw my Poppy light up. He was excited to talk about those things and really uncover potentially some things that I didn't even know about him, such as he said that he would love to go fishing. And I was thinking, where has fishing come from? He hasn't fished in years. But what I didn't know is that was a childhood memory that was brought out just because of those really specific questions that were asked to get him talking about what he wanted to do. And what were some of those memories that made him excited? So after that little greeting and that chit chat over coffee and those chocolates that I mentioned, we actually went on the tour. And much to my surprise, the sales director took us first to the fitness center. This might seem a little bit odd for a 90-year-old, but that was the turning point, I would say, from the signage in the lobby to those little chocolates and coffee to the questions that were asked to the first stop on our tour, not being the ping pong table or the theater or even the popcorn, which he likes. It was the fitness room. She pointed out things that he had said in that meeting because she was listening. She was taking notes. She was hearing what we were saying, and it made this sales process so much more smooth. We trusted her. She heard what we were saying, and she led us right to that spot. And so if I can encourage you on one thing, if I could encourage you with one thing, and that's this trust building process, asking great questions, getting to know the family, getting to know your residents, getting to know why, how, when, what is the reason that they're here? What are they looking for? If you have that, that's the baseline of building that trust to ultimately build the story and help your leads, your future residents, your future families understand what they can come to expect from your community. So building trust is a key here. So back to the funnel. If the goal is to get the lead from point of entry, no matter where they come from, so at the top of this funnel of awareness, to the close, and the steps and the actions that take place during that awareness phase to the close of the deal, that nurture journey is critical. The tools that you're probably thinking, and we'll talk a little bit more about these, but it could be your sales CRM. So are those automated emails set up? Do you have appropriate signatures? Is your face, your headshot attached to those emails? Is your cell phone readily available for a text message if someone has a quick question or would prefer to text back or email back instead of call? So your sales CRM, is it connected to your website and your marketing automation? Do you have outbound marketing emails such as newsletters or other things like that that are frequent touch points for those that are on your marketing funnel? Now we're talking about the awareness piece here. So this is someone that's coming in just looking for information. Perhaps, and this happens often, right? They come in and they want to know, how much does your large apartment cost? Well, Mr. Jones, before we get to that example or that price point, let's talk about the other things. Maybe not necessarily the amenities and the services and the food that you have, But what is the experience? What are you hoping to gain from this move, from this big move that you're about to make? And then ultimately we get to what is the care level? And no matter the care level, there are different types of trust and transparency that can be built to have that awareness piece and use these tools that are in place to ultimately get that lead from wanting more information from the awareness component down to the next part of interest and then ultimately making a decision. Another tool that we have in our tool belts should be the workflows. Are these nurture campaigns, email campaigns? Maybe you have text message campaigns. If a lead comes in through a chat bot on your website, are there appropriate automations that are set up to help your sales team have those frequent touch bases? It's oftentimes where the sales team and the marketing team have a little bit of challenges here, to where the marketing team is building these amazing collaterals, these beautiful designed emails, these graphics and these photos for Facebook. Maybe it's videos for TikTok. It could be videos for YouTube. We see all kinds of tools and processes that are successful, but are those aligned with what the boots on the ground in your sales team are following up on and providing to those leads? So that's one thing that I would say, check your tools. Are those tools working? Do both your marketing and your sales team recognize what those are and the use of those at their disposal? And are they working cohesively together with automations, email, nurture, frequent touch points, if you will? And then let's talk about the playbook. There are, as you know, so many different types of options for synchronizing your sales and marketing to get your brand awareness out, to get your message out. Maybe it's new renovations. Maybe it's something as simple as we have fresh flowers in the front lawn and the landscaping is ready for the summer. Whatever that message is that you're getting out to those leads on either your nurture campaign list or those that are just of interest in following on Facebook, how are you sharing that information? Who's sharing that information? And where is it being disseminated? I've listed a couple of examples here. Website is a great place. We know, because Google tells us, people are searching online. So what is that virtual front door? When someone Googles senior living near me or senior living in Knoxville, they may not know what care level that they need. They may not even know the difference in senior living, independent living, active adult, nursing home. There's so many different terms and keywords and all of this. So one of the items that I would recommend is make sure that your website is up to par. If someone is searching for XYZ near me, does your website pop up? And then a step further, when they get to your website, does it welcome someone? Does it welcome the type of resident that you want in your community? Does it accurately and transparently tell the message and the mission and the values and the love stories of your community? If your staff is incredible and they're the rock stars and you're keeping your staff, let's tell those stories. Let's talk about what that lead or that resident, that future resident, will experience when they walk through your front doors. And their first example of that is on your website. Outside of your website, hello, social media. We know that this is a big one. So Facebook is obviously very popular in senior living. It's where a lot of sons and daughters go searching and looking online for, I know the name of a community. Now where can I find them online? Let's find their Facebook and see, what are the residents looking like? Do they enjoy the food? Do they have outings? Are they enjoying the outdoors? Maybe not, maybe so, but do your images and do your graphics, do your links on Facebook, do they match what is actually happening in your community? I'll go back to trust. If you're continuing to build trust in this awareness piece and someone is interested, before they make that decision, they want to get as much information as they can before that tour happens and before that maybe initial phone call happens. So is your social media helping tell your story in the most wonderful light? Another piece of the pie in the playbook is emails. We talked about this a moment ago as a tool. Emails can be outbound marketing emails. Think of that as more beautifully designed information about your community. This could include things like press releases or blogs back to your website. It could be a spotlight or a feature on a team member at your community, or it could be a happy birthday to someone that's just turned 100 years old. Whatever that combination of marketing information in those emails, again, does it clearly depict what's happening in your community and who your story is about and attracting? The other piece of emails is your personal emails. So maybe you are manually following up with someone that dropped in. And so you've entered that lead into your sales CRM. They're automatically enrolled in your marketing automations, but you're going to send them a, "Hi, Sarah, thanks for stopping by our community today. I'd love to talk to you or follow up with you in XYZ in the next week." Are those emails teed up with either a template to make the sales team's job easier, more efficient, and better? So there are templates that can be made that coincide with your outbound marketing emails that help this process and this flow and this funnel to fill in the gaps to not be broken. So emails from both the marketing side and then also those that come from you as the administrator, executive director, or sales team. There's also advertising, tons of different ways out there with emails, with print ads, with local magazines, with radio spots, with television commercials, all types of paid advertising there. Again, did those ads lead back to what you ultimately want those leads or those residents to find on your website? If it's a phone call and you're adding your number, does the receptionist or the business office manager, do they know your story? Do they have a kind voice? How are they collecting the information to ultimately get it back into your tools, which will be your sales CRM? Does your voicemail, if a call goes to a voicemail after hours, what is that message? Is someone checking that voicemail, those messages, to return those very quickly the next morning? All of these tools and these processes as part of the playbook go hand in hand. And this is what the sales and the marketing teams should work closely together to make sure that the message is aligned, the responses are accurate, and that we're collecting that information to get them enrolled in the automations and also the ability to respond appropriately and timely. Let's now think about signage. Think about if someone passes by your community. What does the exterior of your building and your community look like? Maybe it's weeds growing around the front lawn or the front signage. Maybe it's a bulb that's out on your spotlight. Maybe it's the big sign in front of your door, your sliding glass door, your glass door. Do all of those things help tell the story of your community? They're small details, and I'm not saying that the sales director should go out with a weed eater, but are these things accurately telling your story, your message, and ultimately leading those leads to want to be a decision maker to choose your community? And community events. I'll end on this one because I think community events are an incredible way to open your doors, invite people in. So think of this as it could be something as big as an open house where you have food and live music and drinks and a great atmosphere. Again, are the people there that are welcoming and the face of your community, are they the ones that know the story, that can collect the information and accurately tell your story back to those leads? I see Emily in the chat here. So yes, if anyone has questions or feedback as we're going through, please don't hesitate to add those in. I would love to see your questions here. All right, I wanted to give you a couple of examples here. I'll leave this one up so you can take a screenshot, or Emily can share this with you guys later. But these are a couple of things that I would like to recommend for simple audits, if you will. And this is one of the pieces that most marketing agencies should do up front. So if you have an outside agency, or if you have a marketing department within your community or your operations platform, these are critical steps. And they're pretty simple steps. So let's walk through. We talked about your digital front door of your website, and then also your social media platforms. These are just a few things, 6 items that you can send back to your marketing team or your agency to make sure they're doing today. Your profile picture. I can't tell you how often we see this, that a logo is blurry, or excuse me, it's a bad photo of something taken from a camera that is a blurry photo, or maybe someone's eyes are closed. Your header image. Do you have one? Is there a photo up there in the top of your Facebook platform that, again, accurately and beautifully tells the story of your community? This is a big one. Make sure that your contact information is correct. Maybe there was a phone number change. Maybe the URL was copied incorrectly. If there is an email associated with your Facebook page, make sure that someone is checking that email. If it's an info at or contact us or some other generic email that doesn't go to a person's inbox, double check that someone has access to and is on a daily frequency checking that email, making sure if there's messages or inquiries coming in through all of these outlets, then that information is correct and being monitored. The About section of your Facebook and any platform such as Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, lots of different outlets and platforms there. You've probably all seen this, but the new tool of AI, whenever you type in that search bar, AI picks up that content from what's on your page. So in order to help improve the frequency of your community's page showing up in that AI search, you need to make sure that your SEO words, that your keywords, that perhaps it's your mission, your taglines, your about section, make sure that all of that is really buttoned up on your social media platforms so that AI will pull that information directly to what someone is searching if they do come to social media first. Reviews. This is huge. So there's two places that we see a lot of great traction on 5-star reviews with comments, photos, and great testimonials. So for your happy residents, maybe pinpoint 1 or 2. Maybe you have 10. If you have residents who are active on Facebook and you know have a great story about your community, invite them to leave a 5-star review. It's very simple if they already have access to Facebook on their apps, on their cell phone. They can leave a 5-star review with a comment. Simply just copy and paste that into a Google review as well, which we'll get there in a moment. But reviews help on not only the awareness of someone looking at your Facebook page, but also it helps again with that AI and just that brand consistency and awareness. The other couple of last things here are your name and your handle. So that's the @ handle that someone would search to find your community. Make sure that they make sense for your community. Obviously, there's a lot of different for-profit, non-for-profit, CCRC. You might have independent living, assisted living, memory care. You might have active adult, cottages, villas, apartment style units, whatever you call your community and your care setting. Make sure that that is accurately told through the name of your platform, of your Facebook page and Instagram platforms, so that it's very easy for someone to find and also to save and make sure that they like your page. So I'll give you just a moment. Be sure to screenshot this, take a picture, and send this to your marketing teams to make sure that these items are buttoned up on your Facebook. And these small tweaks can make a really big difference just for the user experience to ultimately get these marketing leads to the sales team so that they can help funnel those leads down the funnel. Okay, another quick audit. Let's talk about your website. We've talked a lot about how this is your virtual front door. This is where leads are coming in. They might just be surfing. They might fill out a form. They might just want to join a newsletter or not be contacted today, but we still want to collect their contact information so that we can then go back and follow up with them in some sort of automation or marketing outbound touch point, if you will. So quick audits for your website. Your calls to action, we call these CTAs. Think of these as the buttons on your website. It probably says something like schedule a tour, get in contact, contact us, interested in senior living, is it time to move? There's all kinds of different CTAs, but make sure that these are readily available, because if the goal is for someone that comes to your website, you want them to give you some information, an email, a cell phone number, a name. We want to make sure that those forms on your website are very easy to get to and that the CTAs are easily identifiable. Oftentimes you'll see this contact form or contact us in the header of your website or the footer of your website. maybe it's different buttons on that home page. There should definitely be buttons on each page of your website so that no matter where someone lands and when they're clicking through, they can easily get to a form to give you the information that can then enroll them in marketing emails and also send directly to the sales team so that they can follow up as well. I'll run through this. Also, images and copy. We talked about this. Do the images, does the text and the copy on your website accurately and beautifully depict the story of someone walking into your community? Those are pretty simple things. If you don't have a giant budget for a content shoot, a video shoot, you can do some of this with stock imagery. And again, rely on your marketing team. If you have a marketing agency, they can provide examples and suggestions, and also just taking photos at the community from your activities directors, from your marketing directors and sales directors. They can hopefully pitch in and help with this as well. YouTube videos, really quickly, this is a thing that is coming strong. So we know because Google owns YouTube, any pages on your websites that have embedded YouTube videos, they will perform better, period. So you need videos on YouTube to then add those to your website and your web pages. Obviously, contracting with a local videographer that can easily shoot those interviews, know how to beautifully package up those videos and deliver those to you is probably the best bang for your buck. And then there's companies out there that can help with the strategy, the messaging. I mean, you can do a whole video and content shoot to produce content for social media, email campaigns, sales campaigns, and then your website as well. This is a tricky one. This probably requires a web developer or someone that can do the back end of your website, but make sure that those meta descriptions, your alt text, your thumbnails, your preview text, I'm seeing a lot of buzzwords that really just mean are the back end items of your website buttoned up and appropriately telling the SEO and keywords that you want your website to show up first if someone searches for senior living near me. Again, contact information, where to follow you for more information, social media, newsletter list, and all of that. Again, the name of the game, let's collect their information, let's get them on a marketing campaign, and then they can become hopefully a sales qualified lead. All right, sales and marketing. I'll fly through this a little bit. Essentially, no matter the care level of your community, no matter the location of your community in the great state of Georgia, all of the items that we've talked about today can be done with either your in-house marketing teams or agencies and contractors that may be helping you in your community, ultimately lead to your sales team. So if the marketing funnel is flowing to sales and sales is flowing to marketing, we're all a big happy family. That's the name of the game. We've got to fill in these gaps to where a lead comes in the top of the funnel, and when marketing and sales administrators, whoever speaks to these leads, ultimately we're going to get them down the funnel to become a close or a decision maker to choose your community. So immediate solutions for equipping your teams today, no matter who you are on this call today, whether you're regional, whether you're community level, marketing, sales, all of the above. Do you have a plan? What is the plan? Do all of your parties and your team members and leadership team know the plan so that when a lead comes in, what is the plan and the process? So then number two, the process. If we have the plan in place, the process is the actionable items that are taking place when that lead does come in. So for example, my story with Poppy, the plan was very well executed. The process we experienced. My family experienced firsthand a very well executed plan that became a contact. I found them on the website, a follow-up text message and email because that's what I requested, a schedule of a tour. I'd given a little bit of pre-information, just enough for them to ask appropriate questions of my granddad so that he could experience a fabulous tour that was catered to him and questions targeted directly to what they knew about him from that conversation. Ultimately, Poppy chose that community. It was the experience, it was that little chocolate, it was that cozy room that we had a great conversation in. It was that fitness room. It was all of the pieces that aligned during that process that ultimately made him choose that community. It was the trust that was created and the process that was beautifully executed. And then the practice. Now you get to practice, whether it's those two simple things, slides that I gave you for social media audit and website audit. Obviously, there's a million more things that you could do under this big umbrella of marketing and PR and advertising and video content and YouTube and so many examples. But the practice of it is making sure the plan is in place, the process can be executed, and that the experience for your leads, for your families, for your team members is reflective of a very well executed plan, so that when you have those leads come in, you can easily execute and practice what everyone knows is the plan. It's built on trust, and it's how your brand is then told. Think of it this way. If social media is the handshake, or the website, I might add, the email is the sell, and then the tour gets them in the door. You create those relationships, you build those bonds, you create the trust and the transparency and are the friend to that family that's in this time of need looking for the next move. That's how you close that deal and get leads to the bottom of that funnel. All right, I will pause there. I could talk for a very, very long time. I love this conversation, but Katie, Emily, turn it back to you.
That was so fantastic, Sarah. Side note, I texted your boss and said, she's amazing. So it's fantastic. I learned a lot in there. I have a couple of questions. Emily popped it into the chat. If you've got questions and you're an attendee here, you can add them into the chat or in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. But I want to start with what I hope is low-hanging fruit. But I'd love to hear a little bit about the ways that you have found that are budget friendly to follow up with prospects, to know them, to let them know that they're still on your mind, that you care about them, and that you see them individually.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll take this back to that example of those questions. So during the discovery process, so for example, with my granddad, it was a sit-down conversation with his two daughters. I was there, he was there, and the beautiful sales director. And she was so kind in asking specific questions, very targeted. There was a plan for that. She knew what she was trying to gather. The follow-ups to that, well, first of all, I'll mention the little chocolates. That went a long way. It was something local and cute. It was, probably not very expensive, but it was a memorable touch point for us. So the follow-up things, we've seen a lot of different examples. If you can find something that's very specific to that resident or that family that is within budget, whatever that budget is for your community, and that's memorable to them, think of it more as a gift that tells them that you heard what they said. So think of this, it could be a simple gift card. Maybe they love coffee, or they love tea, or they love pizza at the local pizza place. Maybe it's something as simple as a $5 or $10 gift card if that's within budget. It could be something like, for example, you have a baseball fan and Tennessee Volunteers just won the College World Series. Maybe it's a quick text after that conversation, or maybe it's a couple of days later, you send a quick graphic or a photo that says, heard the Vols on the TV this morning, or something like that, that doesn't cost anything other than your time. So it's something that you heard, and then it's a response that fits within either the budget or just something that you remember or made note of about that resident or about that lead that you could follow up with a budget-friendly kind of response and review back to them.
Yeah, I love that. I talk about that often, even in employee relationships and hearing things that you're saying and following back. So talking about the relationship with employees, we talk often in this industry that sales and marketing is a title that's given to one or two people in your building, but everyone carries some of that weight. How do you find good ways to recognize the efforts of the staff that are contributing to following the plan and the process so that you do come to deciding move-ins?
Oh, excellent. So great point. Very important, because it is important to reward those that are boots on the ground. They're doing this thing called senior living. They're in the grind. They're answering the emails. They're responding to the text messages. They're taking the walk-ins, and they're listening to the grumpy residents that don't like your food. I mean, that's just the raw reality about this day in and day out. Oftentimes we see that as something as simple but as impactful as a shout out. That could be something like, hey, caregiver, or hey, sales director, or hey, marketing person, let me snap your photo. You're the spotlight in our monthly newsletter. Or we want to post this on Facebook to congratulate you on a job well done. Maybe it's a photo with a resident or a group of residents at an outing, or maybe it's someone on a tour. Anything that is congratulatory, that can be a spotlight and a feature for those exceptional team members. Typically, they love that. So think email, think social media. And then there's things such as fresh flowers. I know there's lots of different outlets and venues that have affordable and budget-friendly, older flowers. I know Kroger does this. I know Whole Foods has great options and things like that. I think anything fresh and memorable goes a long way. Just a simple gift, a simple nod of exceptional work goes a very long way with those people that are working so hard on your behalf.
Oh, Katie, you're on mute.
For some reason, it says that the chat is disabled. So folks, if you have a question, pop it into Q&A and we will get through those. I saw that, Chuck. Thank you so much. Chuck said that this was a wonderful presentation. Common sense, but really great points. Sydney has a great question. She said, you mentioned how when you visited a location, it was obvious that the sales and the marketing reps had not spoken with the person who was going on the tour. How can you go over, or can you go over some ways and systems to implement to bring these two roles together? I think this probably matches into some of the ideas of tools that you talked about earlier.
Yeah, excellent. So with the point of tools, so oftentimes those are very segmented, or the challenge of speaking with one another. So think of a sales CRM, collecting information. That's where your sales team is writing down notes about called Mrs. Jones, followed up, whatever those examples are. And then marketing is providing these tools and these resources such as flyers and PDFs and note cards and things like that. Oftentimes, this is a great conversation for a very quick stand-up meeting. We see this often with our clients, to where it's a 5, 10, 15-minute stand-up meeting a couple of days a week to say, okay, marketing team, here's what we're working on. We are sending out a blog post this week. We've got a marketing email teed up. Here's what our social media calendar looks like. And sales is saying, oh, we got 10 leads off of the website last week. Okay, well, from marketing, let's report on what website page did they come from? Was it a tool on your website? Was it a survey? Was it the chat bot? Was it a Facebook message? So communication like that, whether that's a quick stand-up meeting or a circle up of the two teams, oftentimes is a great way to sync up on the tools and the process that are being used. And also, when the leads are coming in, how can we identify where they came from, what were they most interested in, so that we can report that from a marketing perspective to the sales team to let them know these are the items that this lead looked at, this is where they came in from, this is what form they filled out, or what information they were looking to get.
Yeah, and without being a product pitch in the moment, I think finding a really great CRM that helps you follow that is vital in our industry. And most of us have it, but there are some communities that are either small enough or don't have the investment in that yet. And you're still using other project management tools. And I think the key really is to make sure that you are writing it down, whether it's historical or not. Those are things that you can use after move-in. I mean, there's nothing better than someone's been there 2 or 3 months and the Vols win, or nothing but cakes built a shop down the street. There are small ways to make sure that the sales process doesn't end when the signature's put on the line. I would love to ask a question that's not I did not prep you on at all. So as you're going through and you're doing your kind of discovery conversations, and we talked about it happened in a small room, what is the best question or group of questions that you feel you can ask to get to know someone, or maybe take them out of I'm transitioning from one life to another? Like, what do you think are great questions to ask in that space?
Oh, I love this. I mean, we think about this often. So I think reading the room. So who is in the room? Is the actual lead there? And I think a lot of this depends on your care level. So if it is a health event, and let's say you have someone looking for memory care, those questions are very different than someone looking for independent living or even perhaps assisted living. So disclaimer here, obviously choose your care level and kind of know and read the room of who you're speaking with and how they're responding. But let's take independent living or assisted living, for example. I think understanding where this person came from. So a couple of example questions that we typically ask and we help probe on is, what did you do? What was your occupation? What was your career before retirement? Well, that doesn't define who the person was. It's not who they were in the past. It's where they have come from and what's made them who they are today. So knowing a little bit, whether that's occupation, whether that's job or title or city, or did they travel and things like that, those are really good information and pinpoints, because then you can associate that response potentially with another resident. This happens all the time with educators, teachers, principals, even college educators and things like that. There's this common bond to when you can take someone on a tour and say, oh, Mrs. Jones, oh, she was also a teacher. She was also an elementary principal and things like that. So occupation, or what did they do prior to retirement? And then also tell me about your family. Oftentimes it's going to be grandkids. I've told my parents, my granddad has completely forgotten my generation. It's all about his great grandkids now. And so let's ask about their family. Who do they bring up? Who do they talk about? If they're going to show you a picture on their phone, who is that of? Probably it's daughters, it's sons, great grandchildren. It could be pets. Perhaps that's it. Who keeps you busy during the day? Is it pets? Is it movies that you watch and things like that? All of those questions can help you add on questions and also associate other residents or other care team members to know more about this resident as they're either on the tour or when they move in.
So there may be people, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. There may be people on this call, and I would probably say there's a good handful of people on this call that maybe don't have direct authority to their website that run by a larger corporate entity, or they just have less direct contact with it. What would be your word of advice to those folks on maybe best modeling your social media, or how the phone is answered, or what's happening in the front space, the places that they can impact? What would be your point of recommendation for those folks?
Sure. Well, I think having, we'll call it taglines or kind of blurb or boilerplate. So we can start there. What is that? So if someone says, tell me about your community, what are we saying? It should be pretty consistent across the board, no matter if it's a front desk or business office manager or the executive director that answers the phone. So first of all, what is that message? Once you have that established, whether that's on the community level or a larger operator with lots of different communities in a portfolio, is that consistent across the brand? So then you can look at that and say, okay, does our voice message system match that? There could be some items there. Maybe it's just an updated, friendly voice. It could be a young and vibrant voice, or it might be a rich, bold voice, whatever matches kind of the vibe and the desire of your community that you have. On the website specifically, hopefully there's access to that larger marketing team at that operator level. I would ask for, is there a strategy? Hopefully there's a strategy in place for content, for blogs, for things like that. And if not, and if that's not part of the kind of global operations, there could be suggestions for things that we see all the time that are very consistent. Is how do we answer the question, what's senior living is near me? Is there a blog on your website or on your community site that answers the local bistros, the local pizza place, those keywords and factors, to where if anyone is searching online, it could be just this one blog post or this one article that helps your community show up in that search because of that one blog. So that would recommend, if you don't have a strategy or you don't know the strategy, ask for it from your marketing team. And if you don't see things, that would be my one suggestion is, hey, can we craft an article or a blog to get this on our website to help with SEO, to help with Google search and that kind of thing.
I love that. I love that a lot. Knowing what the strategy is on a corporate level is very important. I think that often we just do what we're told to do, and you folks are you're allowed to ask questions because it's your business. You're running that component of it. All right, I'm going to ask what I think might be our last question. If anyone else has questions, you can pop those into Q&A now. But there are some folks in this space that have a marketing person that that handles all of this stuff. But there's also an option to hire into your local agency or an agency similar to what Solinity does. Can you talk to us a little bit about the benefits or the decision between those two spaces?
Yeah, so on the community level, I mean, what we tell a lot of people is, let's look at your budget. So if you're working on a tight budget, hiring a full service marketing agency is basically your back office marketing team. It's the extension of who your boots on the ground community level is. Oftentimes that's going to be a way bigger bang for the buck than hiring one high level marketing person that still has to outsource those resources. So I would say compare it like that. See, is there a marketing agency? I would say number one, that's specific to our industry. It's critically important that people that are writing content on your behalf, designing graphics on your behalf, choosing stock images on your behalf, know something about the industry. We have come in and rescue mission for a lot of communities that hire fantastic marketing agencies that know nothing about our industry. And there's just missing language. We have unique and special language. We have special people in our industry. We talk about a lot of different care levels on the healthcare side of things, the hospitality side of the business. So I'd say someone who understands senior living is critically important. Looping them in to essentially be the back office or the extension of your marketing team. I would also say there's a tremendous opportunity for ROI with, again, biggest bang for your buck with an agency that can oversee and help manage all of the tools and processes that we talked about today. As we all know, there's so many emergencies that happen, so many quick responses. And when the need is for speed to that lead, so how quickly can we respond to them? If all of your competitors are faster than you and they have a better process, likely you might not even get the call back if others are faster than you. So speed is important, but then also the quality of that content. So oftentimes an agency, we believe, can help come in and address all of those different tools and processes much faster than just one single person can on your team. And I would say no slack to anyone that's marketing on the community level, because we need you. We need you doing what you're doing. But there's also contractors, there's agencies and people like that that can be supportive to only enhance and improve what you're doing.
That's fantastic. This was really good. It's well-timed, I think, specific to our industry, but I work in senior living and association management, and I feel like I am walking away with a lot of things as well. Thank you so much, Sara. I'm going to throw it to Emily, who's going to give us our closing few reminders for the folks that are on the call. But thank you. I really appreciate the time that you spent with us today. I think this was valuable and will outlast just your moments here. I'm looking forward to seeing some of these things implemented pretty quickly. So Emily, if you want to take it away to finish us up.
Yeah, of course. Just to follow up on what Katie said, yes, it was wonderful, Sara. Thank you so much for spending this time with us and sharing your insights with us. And thank you to our attendees that joined today. We're very happy to have you on the call, and I hope that you got some good takeaways. And if you also, I wanted to give you a reminder to register for the next sales and marketing webinar. The third one of our 4-part series is with Nathan Jones, and it'll be next month. So take a moment to go to our website, register if you're interested in that. And then if you have any questions or concerns, I will be sharing Sara's contact information and the slides that she went over today in an email later today. So you will have all the information she shared and her contact information to reach out. Thanks again, everyone. Thanks, Sara.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, ladies.